Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I really wanted to create another relationship video, but one that brings a different spin, a new lens, a deeper perspective, not another take on how to get the love you want or decode someone else's behavior, but an honest look at how our relationships mirror our inner state and how powerful they are as a doorway to remembering who we really are. Because let's be honest, most of us were never taught how to truly love ourselves. So we look outside of ourselves to feel worthy, seen, adored, chosen. And while relationships can be beautiful and sacred, they often trigger the parts of us that still feel like something is missing. This video isn't really about finding the right person. It's about realizing that many of us are still relating to love from a place of survival. And when that survival wiring is active, even the healthiest love won't feel safe or enough because we haven't felt safe with ourselves yet. So, if you ever found yourself asking, why do I keep attracting people who hurt me, leave me, or drain me? Then this conversation is for you. Let's begin. Most of us grow up believing love is something we find. A person, a moment, a connection that finally makes us feel chosen. But what no one tells us is that love doesn't actually come from someone else. It meets you at the frequency you hold. If the love you keep attracting feels inconsistent, unsafe, or incomplete, it's not because you're broken. It's because your nervous system, your beliefs, and your energy are still calibrated to a version of love that was based on survival, not truth. Real love doesn't show up when you finally prove yourself or please the right person. It shows up when you return to the version of you that doesn't abandon yourself. That version of you already exists. But most people have been trained to override their own needs, regulate other people's emotions, and suppress their own desires just to feel safe, especially in relationships. If you've ever stayed too long, silenced yourself, or lost your sense of identity just to keep a relationship going, that wasn't love. That was nervous system protection. And here's the truth no one says clearly enough. You can't receive a frequency your body doesn't know how to hold. That means even when the right person shows up, if your system is still wired to expect pain, rejection, or loss, you'll either block it, sabotage it, or miss it completely. Not because you don't want love, but because you don't feel safe receiving it. But this can change. And that's what this conversation is for. Let's keep going. From a very young age, many of us were taught, not directly, but through experience, that love was something we had to earn. Be good, be quiet. Don't make waves, make people happy. That's how most of us learned to survive. And over time, those strategies became our identity. We became the helper, the fixer, the achiever, the peacekeeper, not because that was who we truly were, but because that's what felt safest. And so relationships began to mirror that conditioning. We learned to give more than we received. We stayed in situations that drained us, hoping our love would be enough to make it work. We tolerated confusion, hot and cold energy, emotional distance, because at some level, it felt familiar. This is where love turned into effort, not because we weren't worthy of ease, but because ease didn't feel normal. The body craved the pattern it was used to, even when that pattern hurt. So we stayed. We overgave. We lost ourselves, all while wondering why love felt so hard. But love was never supposed to be hard. What's hard is betraying your own needs to feel safe. What's exhausting is trying to earn connection by shrinking your truth. And what hurts most isn't that someone else didn't choose you. It's that you forgot you were already whole. This is where we begin to reclaim that truth. Not by trying harder to be lovable, but by remembering we already are. The work ahead isn't about fixing your love life. It's about restoring your frequency. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you feel the dissonance, it's impossible to ignore. This is where the real work begins. Not to fix what's broken, but to remember what was never lost. Because real love, the kind that feels safe, spacious, and magnetic, doesn't show up when you need it most. It shows up when you no longer need to be rescued by it, when you're not chasing it to validate you, when you've become the source of what you've been seeking. That's the shift, from seeking love to being it. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming honest, about seeing the energetic residue you've been carrying, the ache to be chosen, the need to be enough, the pull to manage someone else's chaos just to feel close. These are not flaws. They are adaptations, but they don't belong in your future. You are not broken. You are awakening. So how do you become this new frequency? You come home to your body. Your nervous system, the foundation of your lived experience, must be included in this transformation. Because if it's still wired for survival, no amount of journaling, affirmations, or insight will allow love to fully land. You will push it away, question it, or choose chaos instead. Not because you're self-sabotaging, but because safety still feels more familiar in dysfunction than peace. This is where awareness meets practice, and the body is the doorway. So, here's where to begin. 3 times a day, pause for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes to check in, breathe, feel the ground beneath you. Gently rub your palms together, then place them over your chest. Let your system register safety. This is subtle nervous system work, inspired by techniques like havening. Affirm your wholeness out loud, not to convince yourself, but to remind your body. Say things like, I don't have to earn love, or it's safe to let love in. Let your tone be calm, not forceful. Observe your triggers with compassion. When your heart races or you feel abandoned, ask, what part of me is trying to protect me right now? Don't fight it. Witness it, and stay with yourself. Visualize a new pattern, not the fantasy of a partner, but the energy of your own rootedness. Imagine what it feels like to belong to yourself. Let that image become more familiar than the old ache. You're retraining your nervous system to receive. That's the work. It's energetic, it's physical, it's spiritual. And it doesn't happen all at once, but every small recalibration, every time you choose yourself without apology, adds up. Until one day you realize you're not waiting for love anymore. You're radiating it. And from that place, love shows up differently. Because real love can only meet you at the frequency you hold. And now, you're finally holding your own. Once your frequency begins to stabilize, once you've stopped seeking love from a fractured place, everything around you reorganizes. Relationships that used to feel magnetic start to lose their pull. The chaos, the drama, the pain you thought was normal. Suddenly, it doesn't feel like home anymore. Not because the other person changed, but because you did. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of survival. You're no longer trying to fix someone else to avoid meeting yourself. And that changes everything. You begin to see clearly, most of your past relationships weren't wrong. They were initiations, experiences that revealed what needed healing inside of you. And that healing didn't come from more effort or more proving. It came from stopping long enough to feel who you really are. It came from finally listening to the truth that had been trying to reach you all along. When your nervous system stops preparing for abandonment, when your body stops scanning for danger and love, and when your mind stops trying to perform for safety, there's finally space for something real. Love becomes less about finding the right person and more about becoming the person who no longer abandons themselves. It becomes a sacred mirror, not a rescue mission. This is what restoring your frequency actually means. It's not just about healing a wound. It's about coming into full remembrance that you are divine energy in human form, that your very presence is a transmission of worthiness, that your essence never needed to be earned, explained, or fixed. When you live from that space, when you stop asking, how can I keep them? And start asking, does this reflect who I am becoming? Your entire relational field upgrades. Not because you're perfect now, but because you're aligned. You don't need to wait for anyone else to choose you. You don't need to wait for closure, a second chance, or the perfect relationship to finally feel complete. Because what you've actually been waiting for, maybe your whole life, is the moment you stop outsourcing your value and start living as if you are already whole. That moment is now. When you return to your true energetic signature, when you stop fighting for scraps of love and start embodying the frequency of truth, you stop waiting, you stop chasing, you stop believing that love is something outside of you. You realize it was never missing. It was just buried under the noise of old patterns, nervous system protections, and the conditioning that told you to abandon yourself in order to belong. The work ahead isn't about fixing anything. It's about recalibrating to the truth of who you are. A soul, a frequency, a radiant field of love. And from this place, everything changes. You communicate differently. You set boundaries without guilt. You stop engaging in energetic contracts that require your silence or self-sacrifice. You start choosing relationships that meet you, not manage you. And even if you're still alone right now, it won't feel like lack. It will feel like alignment. Because love is not something you find. It's something you live. When you remember that, you stop tolerating anything that disconnects you from it. So take a breath right now. Feel your presence. Let your body know, I'm no longer abandoning myself. This is what it means to come home. And when someone new arrives in your life, not because you were searching, but because your energy was resonating, you'll know the difference. Not by the butterflies, but by the peace, by the steadiness, by how grounded you feel in your own skin. That's the kind of love you were made for. Thank you for walking this far into the truth with me. If something inside you shifted, even a little, trust that. This is how it begins. Not by chasing love, but by returning to the energy that's been with you all along. You don't need to go back to the old pattern. You don't need to prove, perform, or pretend. You are allowed to receive love, not because you've earned it, but because you've remembered who you are. If this message resonated, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel and stay on this journey with me. There's a whole series here that can support your next steps, including the video, Love is Not a Transaction, It's a Frequency, which is the perfect next message to explore. We're not here to keep fixing ourselves to be worthy of love. We're here to finally live as if we already are. See you soon.